of the pillars that you mentioned, you talked about advocacy and policy, awareness and community, communication and engagement, inclusion and representation, and access to infrastructure. Two things. The first is access to infrastructure. When we talk about technology or leveraging technology, what some people say is that technology is expensive. When you put that side by side by the poverty levels in Nigeria and the fact that people might not have the resources to afford these things that we've talked about, how do we bridge that gap for a developing country like Nigeria so that women are enabled to embrace technology?
Thank you, Ayo, for that question. I think it's a real challenge, right? I remember during sort of the COVID time frame when people were talking about education and all the rest, and it was like, oh, everyone should just go online. And people said, no, not everyone can just go online. You need to have devices, you need to have the tools to go online. So I think there is definitely a question of how do we bridge that gap. I think it comes back to being intentional. You know, there are a lot of companies that, for example, do various types of CSR to support communities, right? And I think the idea is us being able to say, here are specific ways in which we want support, right? It won't take so much to say, let us set up, whether those are, you know, what we used to formerly call internet cafes, where you have access to some of these devices, or we have, you know, lower cost devices. For example, Zynox in Nigeria manufactures, you know, local made, you know, laptops and computers. So I think it's about being intentional in terms of where we require support and the type of support we require, so that these different CSR activities are not just spread out without any tangible impact, but they are very channeled. So that would be my thought on that.
Excellent. So a call to CSR, so especially for women who run businesses. If we're going to push the female agenda in terms of leveraging technology for women, women are their biggest supporters. So we must be willing to commit money into providing infrastructure. I think that's really important. Thank you very much for that. But I'll come to Dr. Shiju, and I come to you because when we talk about CSR and we talk about your profile, you're a woman who is committed to corporate and church social responsibility. Through the Handmaidens Women in Leadership series and the Arise Women, you've been able to reach out to women, not just in the urban areas, but even go to the hinterlands to meet the needs of women. Many of us know about the Arise Pink Bucket. And so in terms of, yes, please, let's celebrate that. And you're also committed to the Sustainable Development Goals. In what way can you, as Mrs. Kola Oyineyin has said, support women in terms of providing the resources required to ensure that they're able to embrace technology?
Okay, thank you, Tope, for letting them know that technology is actually expensive. It really is. And that's why when we talk about gender equality, we are actually talking about disparity in our spending power. It's not so much about you wanting to wear the trousers at home. It's not that. It's the inability for a woman to make an impact in a nation or in a community, immediate environment, because she doesn't have as much resources. I always tease my sugar. I said, you men have more money than we do. You have more resources than we do. But having said that, Arise has gone into the villages. It will surprise you to know, Ayo, because obviously you don't go with us on those journeys. We have done something amazing. I think it will be about maybe 10, 14 years old. We go into the villages and we have put there. Remember, I've confessed to you, I'm not a very techie person. I use technology because I need it. I use the ones I need. Okay? Yes, but one of the first things we did in our Adopt a Village project in Dafara was to build a school. And in that school, we put in a fully fledged computerized library. Fully fledged. A generator to make sure that the computers are there for the use of these children who have never seen a computer before and have never worked on one. Then we did the Skills Acquisition Academy to train those who would teach our children. I went into this village, just give me a minute, and a child came up, a 4-year-old child, maybe 4 or 3. I don't know if I knew you were going to ask this question, I would have shown you. And I said to him, what would you like to read? Tokwe said she was curious about engineering. Do you know what this little child said? In this village that you can barely get into, with huts, they don't have houses, they live in huts. And we have people who are not wearing clothes. Yes, I'm telling you. They are called the Bushmen. They don't wear clothes. And do you know what this little child said? A 4-year-old little boy. He said, I want to read aeronautical engineering. I thought engineering good enough. Who taught you the word preceding it? And I was shocked. Aeronautical engineering. So it means that if we had more power, more income, we can transform the nation. Remember, the hand that rocks the cradle is the one that will build the nation. The second thing that we have done as Arise Women, there was another village we went to, Paduma, and they were singing to us in this village. You wouldn't believe the song they were singing. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. And they were well-mannered, well-behaved children. And I said to the ruler in the place, because here there's no water, they don't have anything. And I said, what do you want? If I had enough money, if I could go to the men or come to the women and get some funding, what would you want? And the person said to me, he said, Ma, I don't want money, I don't want anything. All we need is a secondary school. I didn't have the money. We had just finished completing the primary school facility, put generator, borehole, and some other skills acquisition thing. And we left in November. And you know, this is where my faith comes to play. Sorry, this is where my faith comes to play. We left that village, and a woman who has bridged the gap, who is standing tall. She's not anybody you think of that maybe she's the richest woman. No. Just a woman, just like you and I. She said to me, what do you want, Shiju? You go to all these villages. What do you want for your village? And I said, well, Oliver Twist, I can ask anything. Doesn't mean you have to give me. I want a secondary school for a particular village. When I exited the village in November, she built for the Arise community, in that our village, 2 blocks of 16 classrooms. Wow. A generator was put in there. Water was put in there. Women, please embrace equity. Yeah. You need to have money. We need it.
Yes. Yes, please. Thank you so very much. Can we celebrate that? I think I need to repeat what Dr. Shiju said for the people at the back who did not hear very well. Women, we need to have what? We need to. If we're going to embrace equity, we need to have money. And that's why we cannot have a conversation like this without speaking about access to funding or access to funds. And there are women here who are able to go out today and do projects like this, especially when we see just how important this is. Thank you so much. And phenomenal work that the Arise women are doing. Thank you. Okay, so talking about children, I find the project that you do, Ms. Adedeji, very fascinating, especially with regards to catching the children young. You said you're raising the next generation of leaders, and even in doing this, you're exposing them to technology, using technology to doing this. The reason why it's important when we have conversations on International Women's Day to talk about children is that girls are the future women. And so amongst the children that you serve, we have young girls who also want to, leverage technology. So the question I'd like to ask you is this. What are you doing for the next generation? You spoke about just raising the next leaders, but I'd like you to speak to us in detail as to what your project currently does. And then Mrs. Koloyenayin talked about policy. You cannot talk about basic education without speaking about government policy, because education is the preserve of the government. We are just partners, as it were, in education. So tell me, what is, number one, what you do in detail, how you raise the next generation of leaders, especially with regards to technology, and 2, the role that government policy plays.
So much. So what do we do? Part of raising the leaders is basically equipping them with skills. What 21st century skills do these children require? And basically, we do that through STEM-based programs. I want to highlight that STEM-based program does not necessarily focus just on technology skills. So there's the technology aspects of things where, we're teaching them aspects of science, we're teaching them robotics, coding, etc. What I'd like to emphasize also is that this type of programs develops soft skills. And I'm big on skills development. So out of that, in participating in these programs, you're developing their creative thinking skills. What are leaders? What do leaders do? They solve problems. They identify and are able to see gaps and proffer solution. So skills such as creative thinking, problem-solving skills, critical thinking, communication, how do you communicate effectively, solutions, and how do you even identify those challenges? And I think that comes from embedding these skills at a very young age, which is why we start and catch them young. One of the things our current educational system, unfortunately doesn't afford a lot of our children is that ability with the exposure of the curriculum to teach them how to think. We tell them what to think, but in terms of actually that way of teaching them how to think, how to step back, look at a problem, analyze it, and systematically think through problem solving. And so that's what we do. That's really the essence of how we are approaching leadership in terms of every child needs to be able to think. And STEM is just basically a tool that we are using to achieve that. Secondly, you were saying that nothing happens without policy and government participation. You're right. And one of the major things that we actually need in our education system, which I'm hoping that with the new government that we're going to have, is really a stakeholder engagement in what we're going to do about our educational system. Bridging the skills gap that we have in there, and really moving away from that cram and regurgitate, as I call it, where we're just consuming information and there's no application in real life terms. So we have millions of graduates roaming around, as I say, with certificates in their pockets, but no skills, through no fault of their own, because it hasn't been embedded in the way they've been taught within our educational system. So that's part of what we, have this grand idea of really revolutionizing what education looks like in our country. Yes, part of what we do is not mandatory. Having said that, some of our schools are actually taking up our programs as co-curricular, where all the children do it. And COVID was really the architect of this, realizing that digital skills and 21st century skills should not be optional, but should be something every single child has access and opportunity to. So definitely policy needs to change. I'm really praying that we get a functional Minister of Education at a federal level who is experienced, who has a passion for really turning things around. A lot of emphasis focuses on graduates, which is great, upskilling and reskilling, university students as well, but we need to go back a few notches where we're starting from early years. We talk about, there's a lack of this, but let's start from the foundation. As they're learning their ABCs, let's embed some of these 21st century skills and concepts of creative thinking into the curriculum. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm glad you talked about COVID, because COVID was a game changer, particularly in the area of technology. We saw the rise of startups, innovations in the technology space. Zoom was, the stock price of Zoom shot up during COVID period. But when we talk about COVID, Mrs. Jemide, one of the things that, or one of the areas, or one of the sectors that had to be very creative was schools. And talking to the parents here, how many parents here were frustrated with trying to manage the children at home or supervise the work at home while they're learning from home? How many children? How many parents? Or you are used to technology already? Please, yes, you have to be honest, because I remember how you don't know. How do you, Mom, come and show me how to put on Zoom, and you're thinking, God, help me, I don't even know. But you don't want to expose to your children that you don't know it, because, you're meant to know a lot of things. How many of us had challenges during COVID? By show of hands. Okay, maybe not with that. How many of us had challenges accessing Zoom for meetings during COVID? Please raise your hand. Be proud of it. It's okay. That's why we're here. I'm saying that because some people would, can you hear me? Can you see me? And then the phone is like here on Zoom. We know these things, don't we? But that's the beauty of what we're talking about today. But I wanted to ask you, because we saw the brilliant presentation of the children, and so kudos to you and the team at the Riverbank School. Especially for children who are STEM inclined, how can parents support them? Because sometimes you see, I love the fact that we've taken that trajectory of catching them young. Because I'm sure for many of us here on the panel and for those who are listening, we wish we started early so that you know these things, you're sound even from a young age. How can we as parents support? And then after you speak, the next question will be for Dr. Issa, because I'm looking at adult education, especially for parents here who still want to learn those skills. Is it still possible? Is it too late? Can we still, and not just being able to use our phones, being able to move around, using technology, because what we're talking about is leveraging technology in the marketplace. So if I want to advertise my business, I want to do stuff, can I still learn it, or is it too late for me as a woman currently? And for for Mrs. Jemide, maybe I'm prophesying Dr. Jemide, the question is, how can we as parents, as mothers, support our children or identify a child who is in that way inclined?
I think one thing I will let the parents know is to encourage the children to sign up for extracurricular activities. Sometimes our parents think that signing up for clubs is a bit too expensive, but it is only when they get engaged, doing one of these activities after school that they get a bit more, interested in STEM. Secondly, parents also need to help the children, get a bit more exposure, help them to download these apps that they can practice with at home, help them to talk to them about it. Let the children be able to talk to their parents about what they like, what they're struggling with, and how they can come in to support the children. But I think the main thing is to encourage the parents to support the children in terms of choosing extracurricular activities. And when you actually sign up for these activities, follow it through. Don't do it for 1 term or 2 terms and stop. Follow it through. See them grow. See them develop. Expose them to, to other things. Let them collaborate. Let them do a lot of learning online. And you will see the STEM skills in them will keep thriving and, developing.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Just as a follow-up question, at the Riverbank School, how do parents currently engage with their young ones in after-school activities?
I guess because STEM is already embedded in the curriculum. When COVID started, we were lucky because all our children already had personal laptops and tablets. So it was easy for us to, jump into that technology bit, But then again, we realized that a lot of the children even got, deeper knowledge of technology at that time, some children were schooling their parents on how to actually perform better at their own jobs. So because it's embedded in the curriculum, I guess they have no choice. And then the parents are also very supportive because, they ensure that, their devices are working. They ensure that they come into school charged. And, they really partner with us in that regard.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. So, Dr. Issa, Ms. Adedeji said that in the 21st century, technology is no longer optional. It's not a nice to have, it is a must have. Someone say it's a must have. It's a must have. So in terms of women who are here, who are thinking, okay, I'd like to, I hope it's not too late for me. Maybe the first question is it too late? Can anyone still embrace this?
It's definitely not too late to develop what we call digital capabilities. And I'd like to reference a book I read not too long ago. It's a Harvard Press called Leading Digital. And in that book, it describes, now this book was written, I think it was written in 2012, so it was a while ago. And it describes the need for us as entrepreneurs, as businessmen and women to evolve, saying that not only do you need to develop your leadership capabilities, you need to develop your digital capabilities. So when you develop both leadership and digital, then you are leading digitally. Then your business grows exponentially, then you're able to make lasting change. Because in our times and in the season we are in right now, more so after COVID, we've seen that without that digital capability, a lot of businesses are hamstrung. They're not able to scale. They can't expand. In fact, there are some schools that shut down based on the fact that they did not have the digital capability to deliver education using digital platforms. So for us, like I said early, when I started earlier, be curious. All you need to do is ask questions. What do I need to know? How can I access this information? And who can help me? So there are, for example, there's Google Pigeon. You can Google information, it will convert it to Pigeon for you, or Hausa or Igbo Yoruba. So literacy is it's not necessarily a limiter or an inhibition. However, the curiosity really is the limitation. What are you really interested? And I think that as women, we need to be interested. Someone once said, if you have a seat at the table, you must have a voice. So for those of us in our different industries, yes, you're working with children, you're at McKinsey, you're in all these places, you're changing the lives of young people with dance and instruction. We need to speak up more as women about what we're doing to make a difference, so that other people around us will say, actually, if she's doing it, I can do it too. So for us as women, it is not too late. I have teachers who, there are teachers who would previously, my dinosaur joke, say, oh, I can't. One person, literally, she was afraid that she would break the internet. Like, what if I delete the website? Pastor Shiju raised her hand. What if I delete the website? What if I do? It is true. And I confess, I have broken a website before. I tried to build something, because I can't code like you, but I do know a bit. I'm kind of geeky. And I destroyed the website. I literally crashed it. But the people that code fixed it. So there are those people that have the extra skills we need. So please, it is not too late. We can all learn.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And please, you won't break the internet, literally.
Yes. I had to raise up my hand, because for me, when it comes to anything machinery or whatever, I don't know why, but for my husband, he is able to explore and do anything, and I felt more comforted that if he broke the device, he will buy a new one. So I just want to be sure I wasn't the one breaking it. So I'd rather wait for him to come on, charge the computer, put the Zoom on, and if it gets spoiled, then you look after it and buy a new one. So I don't know if a few women have that same phobia. I don't know.
May I say, ma'am, that part of it is our culturalization. We don't teach girls to open the TV and fix it. We don't teach the girls. It's true. I remember growing up, all the VHS videos, my dad said, Betamax, if anybody remembers. Betamax, all the old people are saying yes. I always say I'm never old. And we would sneak and watch the video, and then it would get stuck. So I had to learn how to unscrew the entire thing, because my dad was going to crucify me if he came and saw that CD, tape in there. So again, that desire for knowledge, to learn, let's allow the girls open up those machines. Let's allow them, and if they break, start with low-risk items. So if they break that little radio, it's okay. They can try, and then that phobia is kind of addressed before we get to the internet.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Let me do a quick poll so that Pastor Shiju doesn't think, or Dr. Shiju doesn't think she's the only one in there. How many of us are also afraid of trying new things? Generally, let's start trying new things. How many of us are afraid that one day we will literally break the internet? Not by trending, but like literally pull down the world, break it, finish it, and complete it. Thank you so much. Well, talking about phobia and the fear of trying something new. For Dr. Abiloye, you talked about you being in a space in 46 presidents, only 2 females, and you're number 2. So when we talk about phobia for women generally, it cuts across. not just in technology. And I'd love for you to share, just very briefly because of our time, what gives you the courage to think I can do it? Even though, because I'm sure you must have heard when you were competing or contesting or vying for office that, please, it's not for women. Please, can you share your experience to encourage others who perhaps are thinking like that?
All right. Thank you so much for that question. Now, I think this started far back as when I was in primary school. I'd always had this leadership skill in me. I always want to be out there. I always want to tell people this is the right thing to do. This is the way to go. So I had that strong feeling in me. So that's number one factor. I had this very good self-esteem by myself. I have the push and I have the courage. So leaving primary school, secondary school, I got into the university. And I had a very good mentor in my days when we were in Unilag, University of Lagos. So he was always, telling me, yes, there is this thing about you. You like to lead. Whether you know how to lead or you don't know, these are skills you can actually acquire as you go on in your career. So he is always there to support me, whatever I want to do, he will give me advice and tell me this is how to go about it. So that gave me an extra, courage with the one I already have inside of me. Now I got married, and I also had a very strong home support. So I just had, support from every place, everywhere. While I was as a young doctor in this residency training, I was very close to my ogas. I'm like the favorites because they can actually send me on an errand and they can go to sleep. Like, don't worry, Abloye will sort out your patient and everything will be fine. So when they noticed I also have this leadership skill in me, they also helped me. So it was quite easy for me, even though, of course, I had a lot of challenges and difficulty. Yeah. But I think the most important thing is the courage inside of you that I can do this. It doesn't
Fantastic.
matter. Thank you.
If you can think it, you can do it. Thank you so much. So if I say if you can think it, you can. If you can think it, you can. Embrace it. What's the worst that can happen? Okay, you pull down the internet. Mark Zuckerberg will create another one. Just do it. Sometimes we're so afraid we don't take the next step. And so I hope that as you're listening to these women in leadership, you would really feel challenged to go ahead and just do it. And so I'll come to you, Miss Olowoshoke. Talking about bravery, women who are breaking barriers, doing things outside of the ordinary, even when there are obvious limitations. You are the epitome of that. And so I'd like you to share with us, just to speak to some women, to say that irrespective of whether you're differently abled, your society doesn't quite make provisions as we have here in Nigeria, you can still be able to embrace and leverage technology even in the marketplace, particularly with the work that you do with the children, or the technology room. Fantastic.
Thank you. Before now, I was educated without this technology. I was educated with the typewriter, which some of us know about typewriters. It wasn't that easy. I was educated to read Braille and type on the manual typewriter. But with technology, those typewriters are no longer existing. It is now computers. And as we were told before, technology does not have gender. Not only does technology not have gender, technology does not discriminate. Technology has not discriminated between the able-bodied and the disabled. The disabled people these days are empowered through technology. We have so many apps, so many gadgets that help us to be at par with other people. Like the typewriter is no longer in use. We now have the normal computers, just what you can use as well. But what makes the difference is it's a particular software called Jobs access with speech. It's actually speech imputed into the computer, so that when a visually person handles the computer, any command you put in, it tells you what you are doing. After typing your text or anything you have to do, it can read back to you what you have written. That is the modern thing. Computer, it helps visually impaired, and not only academically, but in other areas.
Yes.
We have apps like Be My Eye. Once you have that app on your phone, once you press the command, there are volunteers on the sites. They will ask you what you want done for you. You can, the way it works, I didn't prepare for any demonstration, I would have. You can ask them, when you're about to dress up in the morning,
Yes.
you can ask, please, you just point your phone in the direction of the dress you want to wear. In case you don't have anybody around you to tell you the color of what you are going to wear, there's always somebody on the site
Excellent.
to tell you your skirt is black. You show them a blouse, they tell you the color, and they will let you know if you can match the two. That is technology for you.
That is technology.
So actually, you can dress up on your own. Even if you have your makeup and you are interested in putting makeup for the day, after putting it, you can show your face. They will tell you whether you are all right or not. There's always somebody
Wow.
on the site
Wow, thank
to
you
help
so
you
much,
out.
ma'am.
Then you have another one, which is very important to me, cash reader. Once you open your purse, you bring out your cash, it will tell you whether it is 1,000 naira, 500 naira, 50 naira. So nobody can cheat on you with the aid of technology. Another one is seeing AI, that is seeing artificial intelligence. Once a picture message is sent into your phone, you transfer it to the seeing AI, it describes the picture
Wow.
in that message to you. I can go on and on and
That
on
is so
and on.
brilliant.
There are
Wow.
so many of them. So this computer has really, when Dr. Shiju Iluyomade and her mates came to Queen's College to build this ultramodern research room, they put in computers. Presently, we have about 30.
Fantastic.
And I have about 30 visually impaired students. So each student is able to work with a computer. They don't share.
That's so excellent.
And
Well,
on each
Miss
computer-
Olowosoke, I had to butt in here because of our time. I know that, you can speak on and on and on, and it's so fun. Aren't you just amazed and just... And beyond using technology, it's the brains that conceive these, the software, it's just incredible. And I heard some people say that, oh my goodness, we're going to be out of work because nobody's going to be hiring anybody anymore. But let me give you an assurance. I had to pick up this quote by Albert Hubbard, who said, one machine can do the work of 50 ordinary men. No machine can do the work of one extraordinary man. So rest assured, your job is safe. Thank you so much. Thank you. Fantastic. Really amazing. Thank you. And I believe, just opening our eyes to seeing beyond what we're used to. Thank you very much. And so, Miss Bullos, we end with you. But when you talked about technology and performing arts, I was trying to wrap my head around it in terms of how do you do this? How does this work? I know that technology, comes to play in every aspect of life in the 21st century. Please break it down for us.
So, when you have technology coming into your workspace and you realize that your jobs is going to be gone, what do? You go and kneel on your knees and you go ask God, what am I going to do with this? That's what I did. So when COVID hit, most of our dancers, musicians, they lost the opportunity to perform. There was no stage for them. The stage was the internet. So we had to leverage very quickly to try to provide a solution for them. And today you have 250 apps with dance music and drama classes that have been developed in the course. The fastest growing industry of app development is in the performing arts. What they did was to use it either as a marketing tool or a studio management program, or to enhance for education and empower and create impact. So what we are doing in SPAN is that we are looking for the best apps today to be able to leverage what we are educating. But my biggest solution was, how do I raise entrepreneurs in the performing arts using technology? And I stumbled upon the 100X Academy. And so now I'm using the 100X Academy to empower students with their music, dance, and tool, and become CEOs of their own art and craft. So the 100X Academy is a movement that was created just before COVID and carried on online. It's a conference online, and what I use is I'm going to use their technology because I'm a certified coach, a kingdom activator, and I use the 100X Academy as a means to develop other leaders and other entrepreneurs. So we are not only using the technical aspect of come in person and learn, but also you can learn online. So it's very easy. You adapt to whatever is provided to you so that you don't lose your job. And that AI cannot do. Yeah. AI will just give you an information.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mrs. Bullis. And can people speak to you, or do you have a stand outside for performers who are here who would want to perhaps, speak to you about this technology and being able to be their own CEOs? We have women here who are perhaps in the performing arts sector.
Yes, of course. We also have. So yes, you can. Also, otherwise, you can write to us info, info. Sorry, I'm French. info@spanigeria.org. Go ahead and send us a message if you are interested, and then we'll follow up with you.
Thank you so much. The possibility, we'll try to put it up on the screen so you can see it. Some people are asking to repeat, but we'll put it up or get the information at the desk just outside. But I'm sure you can see that thanks to our fantastic panelists, the possibilities are endless. You can use it and you can learn about it. You can still embrace it. It's not too late. There are business opportunities unending using technology. There are ways that you can begin to, fill the gaps, especially for those who are differently abled. Technology is there to aid and to make you achieve the best possible aspirations in life. We can aspire to begin to learn something new when you listen to the stories of courage of Dr. Biloye. And of course, like Dr. Shiju mentioned, every woman here can cause another woman to arise. There are many schools yet to be built. There are many children in the hinterlands who are yet to be reached. And there's a lot of money yet to be made that we will make by the grace of God. Thank you so very much. Leveraging technology in the marketplace. Thank you so much, Dr. Joy Issa, Miss Adedeji, thank you very much. Mrs. Tokpe, Kola Oyenein, Mrs. Regina Jemide, Dr. Shiju Omade, Dr. Biloye, Mrs. Bullis, and of course, Miss Olowoshoke. Thank you.